Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are in A Course in Miracles combined volume. This is the third edition of the Foundation for Inner Peace edition. And we are on chapter 3. Excuse me as I get organized here. I'm sorry, chapter 4, The Illusions of the Ego. Today we are in section 2, the ego and false autonomy. If you'd like to close your eyes and join me in prayer. Dear Father, please enable me to set aside everything I think I know about everything. Please allow me an open mind for a new experience with all things today. Please give me your vision. And so it is. Amen. Okay, here we go. The ego and false autonomy. It is reasonable to ask how the mind could ever have made the ego. In fact, it is the best question you could ask. There is, however, no point in giving an answer in terms of the past because the past does not matter, and history would not exist if the same errors were not being repeated in the present. Abstract thought applies to knowledge because knowledge is completely impersonal, and examples are irrelevant to its understanding. Perception, however, is always specific and therefore quite concrete. Everyone makes an ego or a self for himself, which is subject to enormous variation because of its instability. He also makes an ego for everyone else he perceives, which is equally variable. Their interaction is a process that alters both because they were not made by or with the unalterable. See, I like reading this way because you can see how the words are capitalized or in quotations without my having to tell you. And so here we go, back on the text. It is important to realize that this alteration can and does occur as readily when the interaction takes place in the mind as when it involves physical proximity. Thinking about another ego is as effective in changing relative perception as is physical interaction. There could be no better example that the ego is only an idea and not a fact. Your own state of mind is a good example of how the ego was made. When you threw knowledge away, it is as if you never had it. This is so apparent that one need only recognize it to see that it does happen. If this occurs in the present, why is it surprising that it occurred in the past? Surprise is a reasonable response to the unfamiliar, though hardly to something that occurs with such persistence. But do not forget that the mind need not work that way, even though it does work that way now. Think of the love of animals for their offspring and the need they feel to protect them. That is because they regard them as part of themselves. No one dismisses something he considers part of himself. You react to your ego much as God does to his creations, with love, protection, and charity. Your reactions to the self you made are not surprising. In fact, they resemble in many ways how you will one day react to your real creations, which are as timeless as you are. The question is not how you respond to the ego, but what you believe you are. Belief is an ego function, and as long as your origin is open to belief, you are regarding it from an ego viewpoint. When teaching is no longer necessary, you will merely know God. Belief that there is another way of perceiving is the loftiest idea of which ego thinking is capable. That is because it contains a hint of recognition that the ego is not the self. Undermining the ego's thought system must be perceived as painful, even though this is anything but true. Babies scream in rage if you take away a knife or scissors, although they may well harm themselves if you do not. In this sense, you are still a baby. You have no sense of real self-preservation and are likely to decide that you need precisely what would hurt you most. Yet, whether or not you recognize it now, you have agreed to cooperate in the effort to become both harmless and helpful, attributes that must go together. Your attitudes even toward this are necessarily conflicted because all attitudes are ego-based. This will not last. Be patient a while and remember that the outcome is as certain as God. Only those who have a real and lasting sense of abundance can be truly charitable. This is obvious when you consider what is involved. To the ego, to give anything implies that you will have to do without it. When you associate giving with sacrifice, you give only because you believe that you are somehow getting something better, and you can therefore do without the thing you give. Giving to get is an inescapable law of the ego, which always evaluates itself in relation to other egos. It is therefore continually preoccupied with the belief in scarcity that gave rise to it. Its whole perception of other egos as real is only an attempt to convince itself that it is real. Self-esteem in ego terms means nothing more than that the ego has deluded itself into accepting its reality and is therefore temporarily less predatory. This self-esteem is always vulnerable to stress, a term which refers to any perceived threat to the ego's existence. I'm just going to read one more paragraph and then we'll stop and pick up the rest tomorrow. This is paragraph 7. The ego literally lives by comparisons. Equality is beyond its grasp and charity becomes impossible. The ego never gives out of abundance because it was made as a substitute for it. That is why the concept of getting arose in the ego's thought system. Appetites are getting mechanisms representing the ego's need to confirm itself. This is as true of body appetites as it is of the so-called higher ego needs. Body appetites are not physical in origin. The ego regards the body as its home and tries to satisfy itself through the body. But the idea that this is possible is a decision of the mind, which has become completely confused about what is really possible. And we're going to go ahead and stop there. Chapter 4, The Illusions of the Ego. We are on Section 2, The Ego and False Autonomy, and we're going to stop there. We read paragraphs 1 through 7. Now, if you would like to close your eyes, and we will join in meditation. Go ahead and take 2x breaths for a count of 3. In through the nose for a count of 2, and out through the mouth for a count of 4. Now a 3x breath, in for a count of 3, out for a count of 6. Now let's do the 4x breath, in for a count of 4, out for a count of 8, again 3 times. Now let's come to our senses. Go ahead and feel what you feel in your body. Any sensations, aches, pains, tension. And let's taste what you taste in your mouth. And let's see what you see with your eyes closed. Through your eyelids, what patterns and designs on your eyelids? Any lights? Then let's hear what you hear, both near and far. And with a big 4x breath, let's go ahead and smell what you smell. Now let's go ahead and move into the meditation. I'll go ahead and read lesson 28. You may focus on this lesson or the lesson of your choice, or something from the meeting, or something from the reading, it rhymes, or something from a Sanskrit mantra. I use Aham. Above all else, I want to see things differently. Above all else, I want to see things differently. Above all else, I want to see things differently. Go ahead and think of 3 things that you're grateful for. And then when you're ready, go ahead and focus on your heart center, the center of your chest. Go ahead and feel some of that gratitude you're expressing for 3 things in this meditation, and go ahead and focus that feeling in your heart center. It almost tickles your soul, tickles your spirit. It feels very good and joyous. And go ahead and extend that love and that light out to people in the same room as you, the same area that you're in. Go ahead and extend that love and light out into the world. Have it extend the same building you're in. Extend to those in the same building, on the same street, your neighbors, in the same neighborhood or the block that you live on. Go ahead and feel that light extend to those people, all living beings. And then extend further out to those people that might trouble you or give you stress or anxiety. Go ahead and see that light glowing within them, and imagine the light within them uniting with your light. Go ahead and feel what that feels like. One by one, see these people that bring up some frustration in you, or stress, or anxiety, or sadness. Go ahead and just unite with the light and the pureness that they are. Just as you're pure, each of you join together as one. And then let's go ahead and extend that light out further and further and further. Go ahead and see it reach out across the globe until it touches the other side. And now the globe is just vibrating in pure love and light and innocence and purity, which is who we are, which is the truth about who we are. Let's kind of sit in this for just a moment, in the beauty and joy and gratitude, and feel it within yourself, reaching out to others, even those you never thought you could join with in this way. Go ahead and see it reach out. Feel the beauty of the unity of one. Yes. And so it is. I thank you, God. Let's thank God for the truth. And then when you're ready, it's time to go about your day. I thank you so much for joining with me today. Day 28. I love you. Have a beautiful day.